أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد, all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him, we seek His aid, we ask His forgiveness, we repent to Him, and we rely on Him. We seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evil of our souls and our deeds. He whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided, no one can misguide. And he whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not guided, no one can guide. I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his final messenger. يقول الله تعالى في محكم التنزيل: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا الله مخلصين له الدين حنفاء ويقيموا الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة وذلك دين القيمة. As always, brothers and sisters, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to be here on this blessed day of Jum'ah. We thank Him subhanahu wa ta'ala for yet again granting us the opportunity to turn to Him in sincere repentance on this blessed day. We thank Him subhanahu wa ta'ala for blessing us with the greatest gift to humanity, al-Islam, and saving us from the madness of Jahiliyyah. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He keeps us in the fold, that He does not allow us to go astray, and that He fortifies our hearts in our faith. Amen. Brothers and sisters, today I wanted to have a conversation with you surrounding a verse from Surah Al-Bayyinah. Surah Al-Bayyinah is Surah number 98. The verse that I chose for you today is verse 5, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Yet they have only been enjoined to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely in their way of life, devoted and to practice regular prayer and to give alms. That is true religion." Before we go to this verse and we have a short conversation surrounding this verse, verse 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the Christians and the Jews and their struggle with the coming of Islam. And of course, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as did all of the other messengers, they came with a unified message, and that unified message was worship Allah alone. And we know this because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that all of the messengers were sent with a single message. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. So they struggled with the fact that this message was coming that reminded them of the message that they had in their books. But there was another problem, and that other problem was that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was not Jewish. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not look the part. He did not, according to them, fit the mold. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in verse 5 that He subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them a set of expectations. And He says, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ حُنَفَاءَ وَيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَذَلِكَ دِينُ الْقَيِّمِ. He gave them these expectations. And by extension, these expectations are for us as well. These are the expectations that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for all of His creation. That we worship Him subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And that we are sincere in our faith. And that we demonstrate our devotion to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. In addition to that, the other expectations are that we pray, we establish prayer, or we establish the habit of prayer, and that we establish the habit of zakat. So today, inshallah, we're going to focus on this ayah. Before I go any further, I want to remind us all of the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. And often when we talk about devotion, we talk about faith. We cannot talk about faith without talking about Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, just Surah 2, verse 131. He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إذ قال له ربه أسلم قال أسلمت لرب العالمين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Ibrahim alayhi salam to submit. And Ibrahim alayhi salam said what? I submit to the Lord of the universe. By Ibrahim alayhi salam, one being the recipient of that question, that command, in which Ibrahim alayhi salam had already demonstrated his devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we all know this. We know how Ibrahim alayhi salam demonstrated his devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That command is not only for Ibrahim alayhi salam, it's for each and every one of mankind. Not just, now we're talking about mankind. So Aslim is not restricted to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Aslim is for me, is for you, is for everyone. When we say that we are Muslims, we adhere to Islam, to the Islamic faith. That means that we understand that the expectation is that we submit. That is the expectation. For if that were not the expectation, in verse 132, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَوَصَّى بِهَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ بَنِيهِ وَيَعْقُوبُ. That Ibrahim alayhi salam also enjoined or passed on this understanding to his children, his two sons. He passed that on. The understanding was that you are someone who is supposed to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَوَصَّى بِهَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ بَنِيهِ وَيَعْقُوبُ. And we know that Yaqub was the son of Yaqub was the son of Ishaq. And Yaqub as well passed that on to his children as well. So the understanding for us is that Aslim is something that we are always, that's the expectation of us as well. So when we say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah and we engage in all of the rituals, all of that is meaningless if we have not submitted. And we know, or we should know, that our struggle, my struggle, your daily struggle is Aslim. Because Aslim covers everything. It covers your everyday life, your movement, your thinking, everything that you do, every person that you engage with, your every reaction. The expectation is Aslim. Submit yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for us, that continues and will continue to be a work in progress. We do our best, and we're sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As opposed to us, saying that we're doing our best, but truthfully we know that we could be doing a whole lot better. One of the things that I wanted to talk about today, brothers and sisters, is that and I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. There's a movement. And I'm going to say that the movement is a global movement, but there's a movement in this country. And the movement is actively advocating for the change of Islam as we know it. This is a real movement. And some of these people, we may have observed them whenever there's an incident. Someone may bring someone out of the woodworks, and where did this person come from? This person is the expert on Islam. And often the conversation is one that is palatable for the general public. A conversation that everybody can stomach. I can relate to that. I can do that. Often, these are individuals that have not been trained in Islam. Sometimes the people aren't Muslim. Sometimes these so-called representatives are what we call the modern Muslim. And a modern Muslim is a Muslim that looks like everybody else, does what everybody else does. So these are people publicly have a partner, have a girlfriend. We know what partner means, because partner does not mean, opposite sex. Okay? I have a girlfriend, I drink, I party, I do all this stuff. and I'm Muslim. And the person will argue that they will fight for their Islam. These people do not represent what I believe in. I will pray, and I do all these other things that everybody else does. This movement is real and is gaining momentum. Last year, those of you who watch television on occasion, or watch movies on occasion, there was a movie out called The Big Sick. There was a big hoopla about The Big Sick. And this movie is about this Muslim. He's a comedian. It's supposed to be based on his life. He has a girlfriend. And he's like everybody else. I eat pork, I drink, I do everything. But I'm Muslim. And somehow he was demonstrating that Islam is balanced. He wasn't the only one, because then there's Aziz Ansari. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Aziz Ansari. So he has a show in which he, again, you can't mistake the name, Aziz Ansari, okay? On his show, he has his parents. His parents, they pray, they fast Ramadan, they halal, all the works, right? So this guy, he has a girlfriend, the complete opposite. I'm Muslim, but I drink, so he's always in a bar. He's, eating pork. This pork chops taste good. Now that's supposed to be the punchline. I have a girlfriend. Every episode I'm with another woman. But this is the new Muslim. This is the new Muslim. They want this to be the norm. That Muslims are like everybody else. Because there's always been an assault on hijab. There's always been an assault on hijab. I mean, y'all got the women back, 1,400 years ago. But that wasn't enough. So now we have to drink. We have to eat pork. We have to fornicate and commit adultery in order for us to be normal. There's a difference between Fulan, who struggles, and Fulan knows what his struggle is. Whatever Fulan's struggle is, that is your struggle, and as long as your struggle is private, that is between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For He is Al-Ghafur Rahim, as He tells you in the Quran often. Enough that you ought to remember that. If you don't remember anything else, if you don't understand anything else, you will know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Ghafur Ar-Rahim. But the moment you start publicizing your sin, we have a problem. I told y'all a couple of weeks ago how, when they asked me, man, what do you say about a non-Muslim that says another Muslim that, well, so-and-so drinks. What's your problem? He's Muslim. Or so-and-so has a girlfriend. He Muslim or she Muslim. What's your problem? That's real. Because sinning is no longer something that a lot of Muslims are hiding. Because their hayat is gone. That sense of shame, embarrassment, that's not there. There is no Islam and you have no hayat. Prophet ﷺ says, وَالْحَيَاءُ شُعْبَةٌ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. That shame is a branch of faith. You have no hayat, you have all this talk, you're talking about, I'm Muslim, I believe in Allah. No, you don't. Because if you believed in Allah, you would not be doing this stuff publicly. To do it privately is one level. That's down here. To do it publicly, you are shameless. To do something, to put that out there in public, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had already covered your faults. He covered your faults. Now, prior to this being put on film and broadcasted to the world, other than people that knew these people personally, they probably didn't know about this stuff. Why do I need to know that about you? Why do I need to know that about you? And why are you insisting on attaching that to Islam? Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith narrated by Salim ibn Abdullah, قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول كل أمتي معافى إلا المجاهرين. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that all members of his ummah are forgiven except for those who broadcast their sins. وَإِنَّ مِنَ الْمُجَاهَرَةِ أَنْ يَعْمَلَ الرَّجُلُ بِاللَّيْلِ عَمَلًا. He gave the example of a person broadcasting their sins, of a man doing something at night when it's dark, when nobody sees but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps that with himself, meaning he protects that person. Then that person goes and he starts telling people that last night I did A, B, C, and D. Ya Allah. This movement, brothers and sisters, is real, whether we realize it or not. And not only is the movement real, the movement is being handsomely financed. Oh, you best believe it. That's being bankrolled, financed. See, this is the type of Islam that we can do. Often, brothers and sisters, we're so wrapped up in our own stuff that we don't realize we're always talking about kafir this, kafir that, non-Muslim this, non-Muslim that, and some of the people that are fighting the hardest, that are fighting Islam the hardest, are in the ranks. Now, it may be difficult for us to stomach that. It's like, I can't wrap my head around that. You need to. See, when we drag our feet, the things that we are commanded to do, we don't do. The way that we are supposed to uplift and hold up Islam, we can't seem to figure that out. Other people got plans and they work their plans. See, the people that we're constantly talking about, I'll tell you this before I get to that. So this whole movement, that they are training imams. Now listen to this. They are training imams, actively training imams to facilitate this nonsense. Imams that can officiate gay marriages. Spaces where everybody can come, and where I can come in with my girlfriend and my boyfriend. We go to the Masjid. Now you're going to wake up one morning and you're not going to recognize Muslims. Because this is real. And our duty and responsibility is aslam. And we have to demonstrate that. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ حُنَفَاءَ. We have to be حُنَفَاءَ. And we have to demonstrate our devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We got to demonstrate that. That's something we struggle with. We struggle with all the other things that we struggle with. When it comes to Fulan, I'm going to tell you something. So before I change course, right? I'm going to tell you this. You struggling wrapping your head around how can, Muslim Islam is being attacked from within. Those aren't Muslims, all that rap. When the majority of us think of the Medinan period, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated from Mecca to Medina, yes? And he migrated from Mecca to Medina because Medina, there was great opportunity there for him, and he had supporters, yes? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Medinan period was not a utopia. For those of us who are under the impression that everything was hunky-dory, and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, everybody was happy, sitting around a fire, singing, doing dhikr, that's not the case. So if you're struggling wrapping your head around how these individuals are a major threat, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had to deal with the hypocrites of the munafiqeen. And there are various verses in the Quran in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes direct and indirect reference to the munafiqeen. Furthermore, the overwhelming majority of them were never identified. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam knew who they were because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew who they were. He did not broadcast that information. There was only one person, one Sahabi, that knew who these individuals were, and he died with that secret. So Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and I've been telling you this forever. When you hear me say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you read a verse in the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is admonishing believers, and he didn't just reveal those verses. There was stuff going on. There was a lot of stuff going on. There was a lot that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had to deal with. In addition to the Jewish tribes that literally wanted to assassinate him. There were people in his ranks that wanted to assassinate him because they were playing both sides. When you read in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the believers that you have to demonstrate your faith. بِأَمْوَالِكُمْ وَأَنفُسِكُمْ. That's for a reason. No, you can't just say, I'm Muslim, I believe. No. Ain't that type of no. You have to demonstrate that. You are called to demonstrate that on a regular. That's why Zakat is mentioned in the Quran a ton of times. Sadaqah is mentioned in the Quran a ton of times. Salah, and often those two are paired. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. Why? Because these are things that people generally struggle with. So when you want to draw a line, you draw the line. So Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, at the end of Surah, I forget the name of the surah, subhanAllah. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the following statement, right? And he says, these are to the Sahaba. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying the following. That if you, right? If you, this is, I really need you to reflect on this. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would tell us, the companions, listen, we have to do this. We got to get it done. That was a regular thing. We have to get this done. So I need you guys, we have to do A, B, C, and D. I need y'all to make this happen. Make it happen. There were people that were dragging their feet, talking smack, spreading doubt, to the point where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the following statement. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن يسألكموها فيحفكم تبخلوا. I talked about that, shared this verse with you a couple of months ago. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked you for the best of what He blessed you with, you would, and we talked about what people do. All that negative stuff, right? And all that baghina, all that hatred and animosity would come out of you because you've been put on, you've been told you got to put it on the line. And if that's something that you're struggling with, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling you, fulan, you have to do A, B, C, and D. And that doesn't rest with you. You still have not submitted. Because we know what submission looks like. We know what submission looks like. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Battle of Tabuk, tells, listen, this is during a time of great famine. We got to get this done. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu went to his home, took everything that, can you imagine that? I want you to imagine, put yourself in this place. You go to your house, and you start walking out the door with your TVs, you take the couches, the dining room set, you go, you tell your wife, all right, babe, turn over your jewelry. He gave everything. His wives asked him, what are you leaving us with? He said, I'm leaving you with Allah and His Messenger. That's submission. Umar ibn Khattab, Uthman ibn Affan, similar. They may not have gone to the extent of Abu Bakr, but they demonstrated their devotion. We are at a crossroads, brothers and sisters. Whether we realize it or not, we are. Because there has been an assault on religion in this country for a while now, and it's really on now. And Islam is not excluded. So you should expect that having gay masjids should be a norm. That's going to be a norm. The question is going to be, what are you prepared to do? You need to ask yourself that. Because as I said to you, this movement is being well financed. How many of us pay zakat annually? Now, if you're struggling to answer that question, then we got a problem. I mean, we need to stop talking right now. If you're not paying zakat, which is one of the pillars, you're not figuring that out. You haven't figured that out. Because our spaces of worship, and I'm going to bottom line it for you, our spaces of worship, they function off of the blood, sweat, and generosity of the Muslims. Because going back to the First Amendment, you have the right to worship whoever it is you want to worship. You can bring back some ancient religion and, they will permit you to open a space and you do the thing, man, knock it out. Knock yourself out. We ain't paid for it, though. Do whatever it is you want to do. So, at what point do we stop what has been the norm for us, the sleepwalking? When do we stop that? This is real. I'm telling you, it's real. This is not a coincidence that, every time you turn around, somebody is like, okay, who is this person? And of course, that person don't look like you. When I say don't look like you, I mean, listen, if whatever your struggle is your struggle, but you don't represent mainstream Muslims, that's being forced. And those numbers are growing. If you are not paying your zakat, figure out how to do that. If you are not a member of a community or a masjid, and I'm not talking about, this is where I go. See, it's convenient to say this is where I go because there's no responsibility. There's no accountability. Nobody can hold me accountable for anything. I'm a free agent. No, you're not. No, you're not a free agent. You're not a free agent. You have to commit to something and to someone. When we look at the conditions of our communities, when we look at our families, a lot of times the nonsense, brothers, sisters get married in McDonald's and on the corner, and the sisters in the window, the brothers on the sidewalk. It's a joke. That's not Islam. And I was married last month, and next month I got a new husband or a new for real. What are we doing? That's because there's no accountability. And you are not accountable if you are unwilling to commit somewhere. Listen, I belong here. What do you need from me? If you do not belong to an establishment, officially, you're part of the problem. And I don't have a problem telling you that. If the imam cannot pick up the phone, Fulan, listen, we're doing A, B, C, and D. I need you now. You're part of the problem. Floating all over the place, I belong with the Muslims. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. That's something that you say when you don't want to be held accountable for anything. You don't want nobody telling you nothing. That's not Islam. And we're not in the Muslim world, where Wazaratul Awqaf takes care of everything. The Ministry of Islamic Affairs, they take care of everything. I'm going to tell you, our brothers. Now, I'm sure if you haven't heard by now, this epitomizes the condition of the Ummah. So, Mr. Trump threatens the Palestinians with cutting off their aid if they don't agree to his terms. I want you to reflect on that for a minute. I want you to reflect on that for a minute. We're going to cut off your aid if you do not agree to our terms. Why are we getting aid from the United States to begin with? Now, when you can build the tallest structure in the world, you spend billions, waste billions of dollars on nonsense, and you can't extend a hand to your Muslim brother, and we're trying to figure out what's wrong with the Muslims, If you're still trying to figure out what's wrong with the Muslims, you're wasting your time. Either you're wasting your time or that is a waste of time. Because the answer is right before you. You see it all the time. If you do not agree to our terms, we're not going to give you a cent. You get nothing from us.
Good.
Well, we can say good, but guess what? Are the Muslims stepping up? I'm going to tell you right now, no, ain't happening. But that's our problem. That is our problem. What the Islam that we are practicing here, we are responsible for. Stop looking overseas for somebody else to point you in a direction. Stop doing that. Stop doing it. Because you're going to be disappointed. Stop doing it. We keep doing this kind of stuff. Maybe we like abuse. I don't know. Maybe it feels good. That I see, so, I'm every time I turn around, it's like this humiliation. Stop doing it. Yet we continue to do it. And we continue to embrace this nonsense. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us everything that we need. He's giving it to you. Quran is back there. We have Qur'ans in our home. The things that we need, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given it to us. We're still, what they're doing overseas. The real Islam, the real Muslims. Man, get out of here with that mess. That's nonsense. 9 times out of 10, they're worse off than you. You just don't realize it. Because you're all wrapped up in your self-pity and self-loathing. Wrapped up in all that stuff, you don't realize. Even the people that are in charge of the 2 holy cities. There's some stuff, brothers, I could tell you that will break your hearts. I don't have the heart to do that to you. It's real. It's real. I'm telling you, it's real. And we keep, the Saudis this, the Saudis. Don't talk to me about that. No, I don't think so. Nope. I don't want to hear that. That's not what we need. Can't nobody that doesn't know anything about this tell us about this. You can't. Because you're barely maintaining over there. I see all the holes in your program. Been seeing it. They got so many holes in their program, it's not even funny. They're barely holding on. And yet I'm reaching out for that for what? Why am I doing that to myself? We have to stop doing that. We have to get serious about our faith, brothers and sisters. I mean, the walls are caving in. You don't have to, you know what? You don't have to accept my word for that. You just go around. See, in our little circles, often, we don't see all the stuff that's happening around us. But if you happen by chance to be on social media, you are liable. The level of ignorance is astounding. And these are people, regular people, everyday Muslims, that look like you and me, but this is my understanding of Islam. I'm going to close with this. Today, Imam Qais had an encounter with a brother on the corner. The brother comes to the Masjid, about 10 o'clock, trying to open the door. What's going on? Goes outside. Part of the time, the man apparently was incarcerated, got out of jail. So I'm in the office. We have security cameras. So I'm seeing this. The brother was real animated. But then I see the brother simulating wudu. I'm trying to figure out, okay, he's on the corner, he's on the block, doing this and simulating wudu. What's going on? I go down there. Imam Qais, what's going on? Well, the brother once, came in when he brought his homies, they wanted to take shahada. Well, that's not how we do that. Ain't nobody give you shahada right there on the spot. Clearly, you need to know something about Islam before you say La ilaha illallah. Well, I was incarcerated and I was deaning. I'm about to be a father and I need to make Tawbah right now. Okay, you need to make Tawbah right now. I need to make Tawbah right now. Well, what is this thing, you do before you, say, well, wudu. Yeah, that. So you were dealing hard in the joint. But you don't even know what wudu is. I'm trying to understand this. How you dealing, you don't even know how to make wudu. So the man is out there, he tells them, you have to do A, B, C, and D. He's out there, doing all this stuff. I mean, come on, man. But this is real. This is real. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. We have to do this thing sincerely. We have to demonstrate our devotion. We have to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have to do what He has commanded us to do. And if we fall short because of our arrogance, our fear, our whatever, that is on us. That ain't on nobody else. That's on us. We got to figure this out. We got to put up or shut up. So ain't no need us talking about anybody else. And we can't get three brothers together. I'm going to tell you, the day of service, when I called on brothers in the community, I had a bunch of, and no offense to our older brothers, a bunch of old men show up to do the work. And guess what? They got it in. They got it done. We got to do better, brothers and sisters. We have to. My responsibility, your responsibility, our communal responsibility with regards to protecting Islam, that's a real responsibility. Ain't somebody else's responsibility. And the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repeated that so often is that's something that everybody struggles with. We're not unique to that, but we got to step up. We have to step up. Otherwise, every masjid you walk into will be exactly the way I described to you earlier today. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبي الكريم وبعد. In conclusion, brothers and sisters, as I always close out my khutbahs, I'm going to remind myself first and remind you to help yourself. Often, every Friday, I would say our attendance is somewhere between 75 and 100 people. And there is no reason why the masjid should struggle to maintain. Because if we all did our part, if we all did $10 a week, the masjid would be straight. You come to Jama'ah, you bring your $10, the masjid would be straight. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with a few benefactors. And I'm not going to name any names. But if it weren't for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and those benefactors, these doors would have been closed. I'm going to keep it real with you. Would have been closed. We have benefactors that have been carrying the masjid and the school for the past 15 years. And it's a handful of people. And usually that's how it is. And I had a brother say to me a while ago, you know, Imam, it's always a handful of people, as if that's the expectation. No. Just because a few people do does not mean that is the expectation. The expectation is that everybody is supposed to do their part. Your zakat should go to your masjid, wherever you belong. And as I said earlier, if you haven't figured that part out, that you need to figure that out today. If it's somewhere where you go where you feel comfortable, you need to do that. Because otherwise, our institutions, our masajid will not survive. Ain't happening. You know we like shiny new stuff, right? Y'all know we like shiny new stuff. There's a shiny new mansion on our street. If it's shiny and it's new, we like it. We don't like paying for it though. We don't like paying for it. But if it's shiny and it's new, oh man, it's the place to be. No. If you want shiny new, build shiny new. Stop waiting for somebody else to do that. Because you can do that. Brothers and sisters in faith, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this blessed day of Jum'ah that He inspires us to turn to Him in sincere repentance. The tawbah is warranted. If what I shared with you, which you probably already know, about 45 of his comments about Palestine, if that didn't inspire you to say, Astaghfirullah, oh Allah, forgive us, I don't know if there's life in your heart. We have to turn to, we have to make tawbah. The Muslims have to make tawbah. The Ummah needs to make tawbah. We need to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us, to increase us in iman, to fortify us. We need to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to not hold us or take us to account for our shortcomings. Because guess what? If He does, we're done. We know our shortcomings. We know ourselves. We know what we do and we know what we don't do. And we know what we're capable of. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide you. Ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide you. Ask Him to strengthen you. And be in a habit, if you are in the habit of doing what you need to do in order for you to be right, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase you. And if you are not, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you the strength to do that. ألا وصلوا على سيد المرسلين وإمام المتقين فقد أمركم الله بذلك في كتاب العزيز وقال جل من قائل إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما ويقول عليه أفضل الصلاة والتسليم من صلى عليه مرة صلى الله عليه بها 10 اللهم صل وسلم وبارك وأنعم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله العظيم الجليل يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم فاذكروا الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون وأقيموا الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر